I met her on a night that was never supposed to matter. It was one of those casual evenings I had almost talked myself out of attending, an art exhibit hosted by a mutual friend in a dimly lit downtown gallery. The air smelled faintly of paint and wine, and the buzz of conversation echoed off the tall walls where colors exploded on canvas. I told myself I would slip in, say hello, and leave before anyone noticed my absence. But then I saw her. She was standing near a painting drenched in crimson and gold, her posture relaxed yet commanding, as though the room revolved around her without her asking it to. Her hair was dark, falling past her shoulders in loose waves that caught the light with every small movement. The curve of her lips was soft but certain, and her dress clung to her body in ways that made her impossible not to notice. Yet, it wasn't just her beauty that struck me, it was the stillness in her, the way she seemed to absorb everything around her with a quiet intensity. I lingered at a distance, trying to be discreet, but my eyes betrayed me. I studied the way her fingers traced the rim of her wineglass, the way her chest rose and fell as she breathed in front of the painting, as though she were inhaling more than just art, like she was pulling in life itself. Then, suddenly, she looked at me. Her eyes met mine across the crowded gallery, and in that instant, the noise of the room seemed to vanish. It wasn't just a glance, it was a lock, a pause that burned. I should have looked away, pretended to be absorbed in something else, but I couldn't. Her gaze pinned me, stripped me, as if she could already see past my carefully constructed walls. My chest tightened, heat rising through me in a way that felt both terrifying and intoxicating. When she smiled, it wasn't casual. It was soft, slow, and deliberate, like a secret invitation only I was meant to receive. Before I had time to gather myself, she began walking toward me. My breath caught with every step she took, her heels clicking lightly against the polished floor. "Do you like it?" she asked, nodding toward the painting as she stopped in front of me. Her voice was low, velvet smooth, with a hint of something I couldn't yet name. I swallowed, searching for words that wouldn't sound foolish. "I'm not sure yet," I admitted. "Maybe I need someone to help me see it." The corners of her lips curled into a sly, knowing smile. "Then maybe I'm the right woman." Her words slid into me like silk, intimate and dangerous. And for the first time in a long while, I felt my soul stir, as though someone had touched it without asking permission. Her presence was magnetic. Standing so close, she seemed to bend the air around us, making the room fade into the background. People laughed, glasses clinked, music played softly, but all I could hear was the rhythm of my own heartbeat, louder and faster than it had any right to be. She tilted her head, studying me as though I were the art piece. I shifted under her gaze, but not because it was uncomfortable. Quite the opposite, it was too much, too precise, like she could see the parts of me I usually kept hidden. "You're not really here for the art, are you?" she said, her lips curving in playful accusation. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Maybe I was waiting for something, or someone, more interesting. Her smile deepened, and she leaned in just enough for me to catch the faint scent of jasmine clinging to her skin. It was subtle, intoxicating, and I had the ridiculous thought that I wanted to bury my face in her neck just to breathe her in. "Careful," she whispered, her voice dipping lower, as though the words were meant only for my ears. I tend to leave an impression. I wanted to laugh it off, to meet her teasing with something light, but the truth was, she already had. My body betrayed me, pulse racing, palms warming, a hunger stirring that went beyond attraction. It wasn't just her beauty, though God, she was beautiful. It was the way she looked at me, like she wasn't interested in the surface of things. Like she wanted to undress what I carried inside. Her hand brushed mine, almost accidentally, but the spark it sent jolted through me like fire. My lips parted, a sharp breath escaping before I could stop it. She caught it, of course she did, and her eyes glimmered with satisfaction. "You feel that too," she said softly, not asking but declaring, as though she'd already claimed the truth. I nodded, my throat suddenly dry. "Yes." For a moment, we stood in that charged silence, the kind that stretches thin but refuses to break. I felt like the whole room could disappear and I wouldn't care. All that mattered was the heat between us, the delicious edge of something dangerous and inevitable. "Come," she said finally, her fingers grazing my wrist, a touch both tender and commanding. "Let's get out of here. It's too crowded to really talk." The decision should have taken thought, but it didn't. I followed, as if my body had been waiting for her hand all along. When she led me out into the cool night air, the city lights glowing around us, I knew something irreversible had already begun. The night air was cool against my flushed skin as she led me down the street. Neither of us spoke. Words felt unnecessary, too fragile compared to the electric silence crackling between us. My heels clicked softly on the pavement, my hand brushing hers every few steps. Each accidental touch was deliberate enough to leave me trembling. She stopped in front of a quiet cafe that had closed hours ago, its glass windows dark, reflection of us shimmering faintly in the glow of the street lamp. I thought she might say goodbye there, maybe just leave me with this strange, intoxicating memory, but instead, she turned and looked at me with that same unflinching gaze. "My place is close," she said, her voice low, smooth, and steady. "Do you want to come?" The question wasn't innocent. It dripped with possibility, but beneath it, I sensed something more than desire. It was an invitation to step into a world I didn't yet understand. "Yes," I whispered, surprising myself with how quickly the word left my lips. She smiled, not triumphant, not smug, but soft, like she had been waiting for me to say it. Minutes later, we were inside her apartment. The space was warm, filled with muted lamplight and books scattered across every surface. The scent of sandalwood hung in the air, grounding yet dizzying. I stood by the door, suddenly unsure, my chest tightening with nerves. She noticed, of course. "Relax," she said gently, slipping out of her coat and draping it over a chair. "You don't owe me anything. Just be here." Her words loosened something inside me, a knot I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. She didn't rush toward me, didn't corner me. Instead, she walked slowly to the window, drawing the curtain closed, her movements unhurried, elegant. She seemed to savor every small moment, as though life itself was foreplay. When she finally approached me, she didn't touch me right away. She stood close. Close enough that I could feel her warmth, and looked at me as though memorizing my face. Her hand lifted, fingers brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. The gesture was simple, tender, yet it sent shivers racing down my spine. "You're even more beautiful when you're nervous," she murmured. My lips parted, a soft sound escaping, though I wasn't sure if it was a sigh or a plea. I wanted her touch, but more than that, I wanted to be seen, to be known in the way she seemed to already know me. Her thumb traced along my jaw, slow and deliberate, her eyes never leaving mine. "I don't just want your body," she whispered. "I want to undress your soul." And in that moment, I knew she already had. Time slowed between us, the silence thick with unspoken longing. Her fingers lingered against my jawline, tracing the edge of my chin as though she were mapping out a secret language only my body could understand. My chest rose and fell too quickly, each breath drawn tight, anticipation coiling within me. I had kissed before, of course, but nothing about this moment felt familiar. It wasn't just a kiss I was waiting for, it was a crossing, a surrender, a leap into something bigger than either of us. She leaned closer, so close that her breath brushed against my lips. The scent of jasmine and sandalwood wrapped around me, pulling me deeper under her spell. Her eyes never wavered, holding me steady even as the rest of the world dissolved into nothing. "Tell me if you don't want this," she whispered, her voice soft but firm, the kind of voice that carried both power and care. I swallowed, my throat dry, but my body answered before my mouth did. My hands rose, almost trembling, resting lightly against her hips. "I do," I breathed, the words barely audible, but enough. Her lips found mine. The kiss began softly, a brush, a taste, as though she were testing the waters of my soul. My eyes fluttered shut, and I melted into the warmth of her mouth. The world disappeared, no gallery, no city, no past or future, only her. She deepened the kiss slowly, savoring it, coaxing me to open, to give in. Her lips moved with patience and certainty, guiding me into a rhythm that felt both foreign and inevitable. My body pressed closer, almost instinctively, seeking more of her, more of this electric fire that pulsed between us. When her hand slid gently into my hair, tugging just enough to tilt my head, a soft sound escaped me, half sigh, half moan. She smiled against my lips, as if she had been waiting to hear it. Her tongue brushed mine, a delicate tease, and my knees nearly buckled. I clung to her, fingers gripping the fabric of her dress, grounding myself in her presence as she unraveled me with every movement. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, raw, intimate in a way I hadn't known was possible. Each kiss felt like a question, and each response a confession. She wasn't just kissing my lips, she was kissing every piece of me I had kept hidden, every secret I thought no one could touch. By the time she pulled back, my chest was heaving, my lips tingling, my soul trembling. She rested her forehead against mine, her voice barely a whisper. "See? It's not your body I'm after. It's the truth you keep locked away." And for the first time in years, I wanted to give it to someone. Her forehead rested against mine, our breaths mingling in the dim glow of her apartment. The kiss still lingered on my lips, electric and alive, and my heart pounded as though I had just stepped into forbidden territory. Except nothing about this felt forbidden. It felt destined. She drew back slightly, her eyes searching mine with a hunger softened by patience. Her hand moved down from my jaw to rest against my collarbone, her thumb grazing the rapid beat of my pulse. "You're trembling," she whispered. I laughed nervously, my voice catching. "Maybe because you feel like a storm I don't know how to survive." Her smile was slow, indulgent, her lips hovering so close I could almost taste them again. "Who said you're meant to survive me?" she teased softly. "Maybe you're meant to be transformed." And then she kissed me again. This time, there was no testing, no hesitation, just fire. Her lips claimed mine with certainty, and I answered with a need that surprised even me. My hands slid up her back, feeling the smooth warmth of her skin beneath the thin fabric of her dress. She pulled me closer, our bodies aligning as though they had always known how to fit together. Every brush of her mouth against mine stripped away another layer of defense I had built over the years. I could feel myself unraveling, piece by piece, and instead of fear, I felt release. Her fingers trailed down my arm, finding my hand, intertwining our fingers as she guided me backward. The back of my legs brushed against the edge of her couch, and she pressed me gently down until I sank onto the cushions. She followed, kneeling in front of me, her hands resting lightly on my thighs, her gaze unwavering. "Tell me what you want," she said, her voice low, intimate, demanding and tender all at once. I swallowed hard, my lips parting. No one had ever asked me that question like this before, not about desire, not about truth. My heart hammered, but the answer rose without effort. "You. Just. You." A smile curved her lips, warm and devastating. She leaned in, kissing me again, slower this time, her hands sliding up to cup my waist. Every movement was deliberate, every touch a conversation without words. Her lips traced along my jaw, down to the tender curve of my neck, and I tilted my head back instinctively, surrendering. The heat of her mouth against my skin made me gasp, a soft sound that seemed to please her, because her lips lingered there, tasting, savoring. "You're so easy to read," she murmured against my neck. "Every part of you tells me where to go next." Her words made me shiver, but I didn't want to hide it. For the first time, I wanted someone to see me completely, shamelessly, without disguise. And she did. Her lips burned trails along my neck, each kiss a spark that ignited deeper fire within me. I tilted my head back, letting her explore, my fingers threading through her hair as though I'd been waiting for this touch all my life. Every brush of her mouth, every press of her body against mine, unraveled another thread of restraint I had clung to for too long. When she pulled back slightly, her eyes locked with mine, and I saw something there I hadn't expected: gentleness. Not the kind that holds back passion, but the kind that makes it more powerful. She wasn't just touching me, she was listening to me, reading me, as though every sigh, every shiver, every glance was a story she was learning by heart. Her hands slid slowly along my waist, lingering, deliberate. She didn't rush. She seemed to savor the anticipation itself, as though desire was something to be stretched, savored, not consumed in haste. My breath grew shallow, uneven, as if she had taken control of the very air I breathed. "You're beautiful when you let go," she whispered, her lips brushing mine again, her words sinking into me like truth I didn't want to resist. "I don't usually," I began, my voice trembling. "I know," she said, cutting me off gently, her thumb stroking my cheek. "But you don't have to be usually with me." The certainty in her voice disarmed me. I let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half surrender, and pulled her closer. Our mouths met again, deeper this time, my body answering hers without thought. My hands slid beneath the thin fabric of her dress, resting against her bare skin, the warmth of her body under my palms making my pulse race. She sighed into the kiss, a sound that sent a rush of heat through me. Her fingers found the hem of my blouse, hesitating just long enough for me to nod, to show her I wanted this as much as she did. When her hands slipped beneath the fabric, gliding up my sides, I shivered violently, not from cold, but from the sheer intensity of her touch. Every inch of skin she discovered felt like a secret I had never meant to share, and yet with her, I wanted nothing hidden. I wanted to be read, to be touched, to be seen. Her lips left mine and traveled downward, brushing along my collarbone, lingering against the sensitive spot just above my heart. My breath hitched, and she smiled against my skin, murmuring softly, "Your body tells me everything your mouth doesn't say." And in that moment, I understood she wasn't just undressing me piece by piece. She was peeling away the fears, the masks, the silence I had carried for years. She wasn't just undressing my body. She was undressing my soul. The room seemed to shrink around us, the lamplight soft and golden, wrapping us in a cocoon that felt separate from the world outside. Her touch was everywhere, on my skin, in my breath, in the rhythm of my heart that no longer belonged to me alone. She leaned over me, her hair brushing my cheek as her lips found mine again. The kiss was hungrier now, deeper, carrying a need that matched the one rising uncontrollably inside me. I clung to her, my hands roaming her back, her shoulders, the curve of her hips, desperate to memorize every line, every angle of her body against mine. Clothing began to loosen, to fall away between us, slowly, deliberately, as though each piece was a barrier we chose to let go of. I didn't feel exposed. I felt liberated. Every layer removed wasn't just fabric, it was fear, doubt, years of silence. With her, I didn't feel like I was being undressed. I felt like I was being revealed. Her hands moved across me reverently, tracing my curves as if she were committing them to memory. She kissed me with heat and softness, alternating between urgency and patience, as though she wanted to consume and cherish me all at once. When our skin finally pressed fully together, the sensation was overwhelming. Warmth, softness, fire, it was everything, everywhere, all at once. My breath caught, and she pulled back just slightly, her lips hovering over mine, her eyes dark with desire but still searching. "You're safe," she whispered, her voice trembling with both command and vulnerability. "With me, you're safe." The words cracked something open inside me. I cupped her face in my hands, pulling her back into a kiss that was no longer just about passion, it was about trust, about giving myself permission to be completely, utterly hers in that moment. The rhythm between us grew, a dance of bodies and breaths, hands and mouths exploring without boundaries. My world narrowed to the sensation of her touch, the sound of her sighs, the way she whispered my name like it was the most sacred word she had ever spoken. I had never felt intimacy like this before. It wasn't about chasing pleasure, though pleasure burned through me like wildfire. It was about being seen, being known, being undone in the most exquisite way possible. Every gasp, every moan, every trembling movement was a confession, and she received it like a prayer. As passion crested and spilled over us, I held onto her, burying my face against her shoulder, my body trembling with release and surrender. She wrapped me in her arms, holding me as though I might break, but also as though she knew I was stronger now than I had ever been. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of being bare. Because she hadn't just undressed me. She had undressed my soul. Dawn crept in slowly, brushing the room with a pale golden light that softened everything it touched. I stirred awake beneath her sheets, the scent of sandalwood still lingering faintly in the air, mingling with the warmth of her skin beside me. For a brief moment, I thought it had been a dream, too vivid, too intoxicating to be real. But then I felt her arm draped across my waist, her breath steady against my shoulder, and reality was far sweeter than any dream could ever be. I lay there, still, afraid to disturb the quiet magic of the moment. My mind replayed the night, the fire of her kisses, the way her hands had traced not just my body, but every hidden piece of me, the way she whispered my name as though she was speaking it into existence for the first time. It hadn't just been passion, it had been revelation. She stirred, her body shifting against mine. Slowly, she lifted her head, her hair falling in soft waves across her face. Her eyes met mine, heavy with sleep yet filled with that same piercing clarity that had undressed me long before her hands did. She smiled, lazy and warm, a smile that belonged to the morning, not the night. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice husky, deliciously rough with sleep. "Good morning," I echoed, my lips curving into a smile I couldn't suppress. For a long moment, we just lay there, tangled in the sheets, breathing the same air, existing in the same silence. I expected awkwardness, some heavy weight of reality pressing in, but instead, there was only ease, a quiet intimacy that felt more powerful than anything words could capture. She reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, just as she had the night before. "You look different," she said softly. "Different how?" Like someone who finally put down the armor they didn't realize they were wearing. Her thumb brushed my cheek, her gaze steady. "You're lighter. Freer." Her words settled into me like truth I couldn't deny. I felt it too. Something had shifted, cracked open. She hadn't just touched my body, she had touched places I had buried, places I had kept locked and silent. And somehow, instead of fear, I felt release. I leaned into her hand, closing my eyes for a moment, letting the quiet of her apartment hold me. "Last night, it wasn't just." "I know," she interrupted gently, her smile deepening. "It wasn't just for me either." And in her voice, I heard the promise of something more, not just a fleeting night of desire, but a connection that had already rooted itself too deeply to be ignored. The sun rose higher, spilling light across the sheets, across her skin, across us. And I knew, with a certainty that surprised me, that the woman who undressed my soul wasn't finished. She was only just beginning.